Hello, Ramley and other NFL family. Payo time here, your Canadian Rams fan, and we are talking some Rams today. I am so stoked. I have an amazing guest lined up today. He's another Rams content creator. If you've followed my channel, you know he's been on the channel many times before, and hopefully he'll continue to be on many times in the future. But one of the true greats of Rams content out there. Let me bring him in. Rams house in the house. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you doing?
So good. Now that you're here, absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. No. So Rams house. Let's talk. I have had people ask in my comments, like, hey, like, do you know, like, how often Rams House, like, posts and things like that? And I just tell them, I'm like, he's got stuff to do. He's a busy guy. He's in demand. But for anyone out there who's not subscribed to Rams House, the link to his channel is in the description below. You make sure you go to it. But any plans for your channel, coming up?
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm kind of in the thick of it with, like, schools and some priorities. But I am planning on being able to get back to the channel and work on it a little bit more. I don't know if I can do it to as much as I used to, just because of priorities and all that. But I definitely plan on coming back to it and working on some things and working on some things that I haven't before that are a little bit more time consuming and things. And so you can expect that in the future. Just not a lot of volume of content, just because where I'm at right now.
Cool. No, that's really cool, man. That's sweet. Well, I'm thankful that you made some time to appear on my channel tonight, and we're going to talk some Rams. And I started this segment with Sheriff Joe on Sunday, and we're calling it the 3-minute offense here. And so we're going to put three. Oh. Give me a sec here.
Oh, it's already going.
No. I started. No. Put 3 minutes on the clock, and I'm going to give you the 3 minutes, and I have 10 Rams-related trivia questions. We're going to see if you can get through all 10 and how many you can get right. All right. But just before we do that, let's give a shout-out. We got Sinjin here. Grandizer, that's awesome. You're hanging out with the Camper Report. I hope he's having a great stream. Nifty Takedown, good to see you. We'll talk about the Allen Robinson trade in just a moment. And then David, good to see you. Thanks for tuning on in. It's all about the Los Angeles Rams. Absolutely. So let me bring up. I gotta get organized here because I gotta read fast. So the timer will start when I stop reading the first question. Okay. And if you don't know the answer to the question, you're allowed to say pass, and we'll get back to it, okay?
All right.
Now, okay. Who scored the first touchdown for the Rams last season? Go.
Cooper Kupp?
That is correct.
Oh, let's go.
Who scored the last touchdown for the Rams last season against the Seahawks?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Tutu out? Well?
Yeah, that's correct. Wow.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, okay. What year was Sean McVay hired by the Rams?
2017.
Okay, you're 3 for 3 here. What was the name of last year's draft trailer for the Rams? This gets tough.
Was it Steal the Draft?
No, that was a tagline on it.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. It was on the clock. The house always wins.
Okay.
Who is the Rams' all-time leading rusher?
That's a tough one because we have a lot of good running backs. So I'm going to guess Eric Dickerson.
No, it's Steven Jackson.
Steven Jackson.
What round was linebacker Ernest Jones drafted in?
3rd round?
That is correct. Well done. That's 4. All right. Name 3 wide receivers not with the team but played under McVay.
Okay, Josh Reynolds first. Robert Woods, obviously.
Yep.
And
I knew you'd say
Tavon Austin.
Tavon Austin, briefly, yes.
Yeah.
What team did the Rams defeat in Week 3 of last season?
Ooh, Arizona.
That's correct.
Let's go.
Well done. All right, this is going to get a little tougher with these final 2. Who has more rushing touchdowns as a Rams quarterback, Jared Goff or Sam Bradford?
That is a tough one. I'm going to say Jared Goff.
Well, neither of them are that mobile, but yes, Jared Goff had 10. Bradford only had 2.
We'll take that.
Final question. You're crushing this here. Under or over 150 yards passing by Johnny Hekker as a punter for the Rams?
Over.
That is correct. He had 186. Well done.
You have to put the faith in Johnny Hekker.
Well done. And you know what? Since we got time to spare, and I know Grandizer's here, final question: whose house?
Rams' house. That's easy.
You got it. Nicely done. Wow.
Man, I didn't think I'd get that question, to be honest. That one scared me a little bit.
No, you did a good job, man. Wow, that was very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you. I should have known Steven Jackson. It's just the problem is I knew that he was around, but I wasn't able to watch him back then because we didn't have any streaming service. So I would just have to watch the scoreboard update each time. So.
Oh, hello, testing 1 2. Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second. Yeah.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. No, I think Steven Jackson is one of those people that often Ram fans, if they didn't see him regularly, they forget about. But yeah, he is the franchise leading rusher, and you wish he had some better teams around him for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't really get a lot of credit.
Let's see here. We got I Like Dogs here. We got Daniel Stevos here. He was guessing Falk. Falk was great. No,
we have a lot of good running backs.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's so many good, not just running backs, but receivers as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get to some of your questions here in just a moment. We're gonna start off with a brief article here, and let me just pull this up. Not that timer. There we go. That's a big timer. Anyway, so this is again by Cameron DeSilva, a friend of the show, and he says the Rams list of offseason departures and additions is absurdly lopsided, and a lot of Ram fans are feeling this, including myself and yourself. I'm well aware of that. But he points out just that the Rams really haven't signed anyone, and he looks let me just list this off here. And he quotes Greg Beecham here. He says, so the players that have left: Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, Leonard Floyd, Allen Robinson, Greg Gaines, Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott, David Edwards, David Long Jr., Baker Mayfield, Brandon Powell, Matt Gay, Riley Dixon, Matt Orchez, Chandler Brewer, Ashawn Robinson, and Troy Hill. And they've added Hunter Long. That's a lot of people got it.
A little concerning.
Yeah. So when you see this, what are your initial reactions to all of these departures? And it's not just the departures, it's the lack of not making moves, right? In the past, the Rams trade Robert Woods, but they brought in Allen Robinson. You're okay, I see they're making that decision. But here it seems like everybody leave, and we're just gonna focus on the draft. Are you down with this? This strategy here.
I think it to be fair to it, you have to see it play out and see how they draft and see how the season goes and all that, because I think it's kind of unfair to judge it before anything happens. I see a lot of people completely panicking because they're oh, we lost so many players and this hasn't been our strategy. But I think to give it justice, you have to let it play out to fully understand what they're doing. Because I think from the point that we're at right now to week 1 in the season, our roster is going to look so different. And so I think I just have to see it play out. It's kind of weird because we've gotten used to being spoiled and having these big moves happen to see this. But I think it all depends on how we draft, and it all depends on how we fill out our roster and who comes on.
Totally. And I think that something that as Ram fans, we want, at least me, the way I am, maybe not every Rams fan is like this, but I want to be generally optimistic towards the Rams. I don't want to go into the year and being all right, we're going to win 2 games.
Let's go.
Right? And if that's you, power to you, but that's not fun for me as a fan. And even if the Rams do win, 2 games or no game, I'm still going to cheer for them. They're my team for the rest of my life. But I like going into the season a little, more optimistic. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, as you say, for sure. Well, let's go into Nifty had a question here. He said, what's your opinion on the Allen Robinson trade? He thinks we got fleeced. The word fleeced has been used in so many headlines with the Rams recently.
Unfortunately.
What do you think?
I'll say this. I was disappointed by it because like I still think he can be good. He just kind of was dealt a bad card, like a bad hand of cards. I don't think we got great compensation back for him, but I was kind of already expecting that, just kind of the way that we don't seem to get very good compensation for our players, which is unfortunate, even the really good ones. And so I was expecting it a little bit, which helped like soften the blow. But I think we even traded with one of our picks with him for the Steelers to accept it. So we didn't even really get that much in return. And we lost a pretty good player, in my opinion. And so it's sad to see, but again, it like depends on how the players play next year and like who we fill that position with. And so that's going to be something that's exciting. But I wasn't very happy with the compensation, but I kind of expected it.
Yeah, no, and I think I feel like ever since the Robert Woods trade, I've just accepted when we're like actively shopping a player that we're doing it for cap casualty reasons. And the Rams are going to get like it's going to look like the Rams get ripped off, and that's just the way that it is. And certainly with the Jalen Ramsey trade, unless Hunter Long works out to be the surprise tight end, which go Hunter Long.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him.
Oh, I think every Rams fan is. But like with this Allen Robinson trade specifically, I remember you and I, like we talk via text and stuff, and we were saying like we like took a guess, and I guessed a conditional 7th round or 6th or 7th round pick in 2024 draft, like next year. And then like I forget, did you say it was like a 6th round this year or something?
Yeah, I was predicting that we'd get a 6th or a 7th next year.
But it's just funny because those expectations alone
I know
are so pathetically low, and like we're hardcore fans, like. We're looking at this team every day, and much like many of the fans that watch this show. And I don't think there was too many Ram fans out there that were like, "Oh yeah, like we're gonna get a 4th or a 3rd, 4th." Right? Like the fact that the Rams fan base has just gotten to the point where, like, if we have a player on the trade block, it's like, "Oh yeah, it's just gonna be like, Les Snead's deals, right?"
I know. It's sad because it's like we give up a lot of picks and compensation for players like to receive them. Sometimes maybe more than we should, but then we don't get enough back for them.
Totally,
which is like unfortunate.
Totally, no, it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah, it is.
What's up, Alex G? Good to see you. We got Steve-O here. He said under over 6.5 wins this year. That's I think what ESPN has the Rams at this year.
Oh, interesting.
It's really hard to predict the Rams win total because they currently only have 44 players under contract, right? Like
that's a lot of players to fill.
Right. And you wonder, like, okay, like, are you really depending on the draft and undrafted free agents to build the rest of that roster to 90 men until you get to the training camp? So I don't know. I will say that. So last night I had a segment on Rams Wednesdays where I talked about there is an advantage that the Rams have kind of created with having that many roster spots that undrafted rookie free agents would view the Rams as an appealing destination. And some people messaged me and commented me of like, "Hey, Payo, that's maybe being a little too optimistic," which is totally valid. And point of like, I don't think that this was like a necessary thing the Rams had to do. It's just sort of a reality of like where the Rams are. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the best practice for building your team is to rely on undrafted free agents all the time. Like absolutely diamonds in the rough happen, but what are your thoughts towards this draft class and potentially undrafted free agents that might be coming?
Yeah, I think this draft is going to be really important, especially because we're kind of pivoting to a direction that we haven't gone to under McVay. And so it's going to be very interesting to see because we're going to have to maximize on the picks that we have this year and hopefully find like maybe 3 to 4 guys. That would be a really good outcome. If we could find 3 to 4 guys who could be solid contributors or maybe diamonds in the rough like Cooper Kupp or somebody like that, even if we just get one of those players, and we're gonna have to draft differently than we have in the past. Like I feel like in the past we like to go for like somebody who has a high potential or who could do really good in McVay's offense and stuff. But now we have to look towards places of like filling our needs, which we're not used to.
Yeah.
And so I think this draft determines a lot. And I think, like you said, it's going to provide a good opportunity for the players who go undrafted to come to the Rams because they know they're going to get some playing time and be able to at least try to impress some of the coaches. So it'll be interesting, but I hope we just don't take somebody like kind of like a Tutu Atwell, like Tank Dell with our first pick. If we take a small receiver or somebody who we think can be a weapon, like that's cool, but I think we have other needs that we need to address in other spots.
Absolutely. Like, and that's the thing, right? Like, we're not used to McVay playing a ton of rookies. You know,
Yeah.
like it's rare for rookies on either side of the ball under the McVay, era to get a ton of playing time during the season. But with the state of this current roster, we're gonna need to. Right?
Yeah. There's no other choice.
Is there an AMS? Good to see you as always. He asked, who is the next Rams to be traded? Is there anyone else you think is potentially on the trade block
for this offseason? It's kind of hard to tell. I kind of feel like we need all the players we can get right now, and I feel like it would only be a player who'd like free up a lot of cap space for us, or like maybe they have a big contract, but I don't really see us making any move in this like offseason right now of trading anybody else away. Hopefully not. We know that like Stafford, Cup, and Donald won't be touched like as far as trades go. So
yeah,
I'm not sure. I know a lot of people float around Cam Akers like as a name because of what everything like how it happened last year and how he almost got traded. But I think he's going to be a guy that they're going to let play out his contract because I think this is his contract year. So
yeah, and I think with the amount of dead cap the Rams are absorbing this year and how much cap space they've opened up for 2024, I feel like they've made their that's their big offseason move of like getting the cap right for next year. Which again, you can criticize it, you can definitely question it, but like that's the decision they made. With that comes the maybe now, okay, we're done trading away players. Like I have seen rumors that like if a team was interested in Van Jefferson or Tyler Higbee, they could maybe be players that could be moved. But I briefly saw the name Rob Havenstance just because he is a veteran player that they could move on from. But I wouldn't want to see any of those guys' moves. I feel like we have lost. You saw that laundry list of players that we've already lost, and I really don't want us to take on any more dead cap this year.
I know. Aren't we at like 74 million or something in dead cap?
I think it's like 74.3 or 0.5. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that it's cool that like we're an organization that realizes what we have to do and like moving on. It doesn't matter the cap hit and like the dead cap that we're going to take for it. At least we don't like hold on players for too long. Like with the Cowboys, how they've just held on to Zeke Elliott for so long. They finally released him. It's like, I'm glad we're not a sentimental franchise. It's like kind of hard to see players go, but at least they're willing to admit when they're wrong or like when it's time to move on.
Yeah. And that's something that not every owner of every NFL team would be willing to let their front office do. So that's something. Nifty made a bet with a friend that the Rams, he said, my friend bet me $10 that the Rams get less than 10 wins next year. Do you like my odds of winning? I'd say it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
Because you just never know, right? One good draft class can really change your team around, and I think that's what the Rams are hoping for this year. But we'll see.
How many wins do you see them getting? I know it's really early, but if you're to judge, like...
in my mind, and it's annoying because we've been so blessed to have higher expectations than this.
Yeah.
But I'd say a floor of 6 wins with a ceiling of potential 11.
Okay.
And I know that's a pretty wide gap, but I just say that in the sense of, if you have players that come in and contribute right away, like that's the beauty of the NFL is one good draft class especially if you hit on those late round picks, that can make
Mhm.
all the difference in the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I feel like we're gonna go beyond what people are expecting from us this upcoming season. I feel like too many people are thinking that we're gonna get like 4 or 5 wins and like we're gonna just be terrible. But I think we're gonna surprise some people, and I think we'll be in the window of like 7 to 10, maybe 7 to 11. It kind of depends on injuries again, because if we get hurt like last year, I don't see us getting that many wins. But I think that we can surprise some people.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. One Ram fan that's that's a little annoyed with some of the headlines that the Rams are getting right now, and rightfully so, is JJ40. And he's saying this narrative is getting seriously annoying. How many of these experts said we were done in '99? That's very true. Don't judge the movie before the opening credits are even on the screen. Is all I'm saying.
Good point.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah. Absolutely. I like dogs. Good to see you. I know he's excited for the draft coming up.
Yeah.
Steve-O, everything we've heard, Stafford's healthy. He looked good. Like this year, like from what we've seen in his press conference this week, like he looked like, he was ready to go out there and just like rip it, right? So
yeah.
Let's see. We got Cali Ram fan, good to see you. Oh, Rudy, good to see you. The Remaining Sports Report.
What's up, Rudy?
Rudy's got an interesting take here. Okay. He's saying Rams eating dead cap this season, filling the roster with young players on defense through draft picks 11 with 3 in the first 78. Rams offense will carry the load. Young D coming in late. So that's Rudy. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm curious. Ram says so. Out of the 11 picks, what do you think the ratio of like drafting on offense and defense, and maybe even special teams, because we don't have like any special teamers?
Yeah.
What could you see that happening with those picks?
It's hard because I know that we like to draft offense a lot, even if like we don't technically need a player. But it's kind of a hard question. I'd say we'd still go more on the defensive side, maybe by like 1 or 2 more players. And it's hard. I could kind of see us I could kind of see it for this filling the special teams. I can see us going the undrafted route, just because like we've done that in the past. But I'd say this year we might actually break our streak and we might go more defense than offense. But as far as like where those picks are, I couldn't tell you, because no matter if there's like a generational guy there that falls to us on defense, I feel like we might still pick like a receiver or something. So
yeah, and I think like I'm of the mindset of we'll have to go D heavy just solely because like we need defensive players. We don't have many on the roster. Most of the players that have left were on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
and I just think that like I've as I look at the approach to this draft, and if you look at it, I think this is going to be a draft. The Rams are going to move up and down that draft board on the final 2 days. The more and more I think about it, and again, I could be completely wrong about this, I think that second round pick is getting traded by the Rams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think like anything they can do to accumulate more draft picks, I could see them doing. I think with the small amount of draft, of cap space that they have right now, I could see them looking to sign a large rookie class. I am of the mindset of, we have 11 picks going into this draft. Wouldn't shock me if we end up with more.
Yeah. I guess I could see that too. It would be sad because it's like this is like the closest we've been to the first round in a while, and to see us trade back. But I could see them doing that, especially because like they like to have more picks and everything to be able to draft guys, especially to fill out the roster. So I can see that.
Yeah, I also like. I'm a firm believer that 2024 first round pick, I think it's getting traded too. I think
really?
I think this is just part of the Rams' philosophy in building is just doing that, and there's a reason we haven't had a first round pick since Jared Goff in 2016.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's hard to tell for me because it feels like we're kind of changing our philosophy a little bit and like how we're building our team, and I don't know if they're going to go back to that right after getting out of all that money. It's going to be interesting though, because I don't know how good we'll be by the trade deadline, but I don't think it would happen during the season next year. I feel like if we traded it, it might be in the off season when we're like loading up on some guys, but it's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yep, no, absolutely. Shout out to Jalen and Snoop from Rams
Oh,
House
what's going
TV.
on?
Legends in the chat tonight. Legends in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
And they were saying, don't listen to the geeks.
No.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I feel like it is a pretty, I don't know, and to be fair, from a like media perspective, it's really easy to hate on the Rams right now with what they've done. I think so many people have criticized the Ramsey trade, the Robinson trade, letting Leonard Floyd go. And even though, like, I'm shocked Leonard Floyd hasn't signed with a team yet. Which I'm shocked.
I don't know why. That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe a team will maybe they'll sign him after the draft to if they didn't get their guy.
Maybe, yeah. It seemed weird because he seems like he's a solid player, right?
No, yeah, he is.
Yeah. Let's see, going through. Hey guys, if you ask any questions in the chat, I'll do my best to star them. But Ram says, let me ask you this. So let's say it's week 1, next season. What do you hope? First off, what team would you like to see week 1, and what would you like the Rams going into the season? What would you like the headline to be?
That's a good question. I can actually look up their opponents here to get a refresher. I know that we played the AFC North. Let's see. What about you?
I think we're gonna have the Ravens early. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, and I'd like the headline to be Rams ready for a rampage or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be a young team, right?
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to see a headline saying things like the Rams are ready to prove people wrong, or the Rams have a chip on their shoulder, or something like that, because we're used to coming into the year with high expectations and people just kind of be like, oh yeah, it's a given that they're a contender. But now we have a lot of people doubting us, and I think you can feel that through the players when they're talking. So that would be a cool headline. As far as the team to play, I was going to say I would want to see the Bengals early just because it's my brother's team. But
Remax again.
Yeah, but week 1, I think we're home. I'm not sure. If we were home, then we can play the Bengals. So I'm going to say the Browns would be an interesting one to open up.
Okay, yeah. I wouldn't mind getting that out of the way, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think we have a pretty cool schedule.
Awesome. Well, I have gone through and I've started a bunch here, so let me get to it. The first one comes in from Grandizer12, and sorry, Grandizer, I was not skipping your question. I was just starting up a bunch of questions so that we could ask them together. Grandizer saying, is it true that the Rams have to increase season ticket prices to help pay for the dead money, stick it to the fans, I guess? To my understanding, that's not the way the cap necessarily works. Stan Kroenke has a lot of other businesses. I would be curious to what the ticket prices are, this upcoming year to next year. But yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I don't really know how the business works about that, but yeah, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I feel like ticket prices would only go down with us being worse.
We'll see. So if you're looking to go to SoFi Stadium, might be a little more affordable this year.
To look for, yeah.
Hopefully. Grandizer also said, Rams Showcase, did you read that the Rams could not afford their 2023 second and third round picks, so they will trade out, start drafting? That's a theory. Because I haven't checked. Let me just double check here. Rams.
I think we can afford them.
The cap. Yeah, right now the Rams have we have $7.2 million in cap space. So not a ton, but Yeah, you know what, that area though, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Rams will be okay with signing their draft class here.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Exotic Soy Sauce. Always a pleasure. But what's your take here on I see Rams House TV, he wants 49ers, he wants the Rams to go on the road, Levi Stadium week 1. What do you think?
That would be cool, especially if we beat them. And that'd be kind of funny too if like the moment that a lot of our big stars leave, we beat them. But that would be cool.
Yeah. No, I was telling Jalen and Snoop on their stream the other night that I'll probably host a watch party for the game, but after I'm going to end and after when we beat the Niners, I'm hosting a live stream. I'm gonna equip it that like if you want to come on, you can stream to your channel, Ramsos TV. Everyone, we're just gonna have one big party.
I like that.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Jade Sports, good to see you. Grandizer brings up a good thing here. He said Aubrey Pleasant, who I know you are a huge fan.
Oh yeah.
Reveals what LA values in defensive backs. What are your thoughts on Aubrey Pleasant coming back to the Rams?
I'm really happy. I was like disappointed when he left and when he went to the Lions because I was like, I want to keep him on our staff. Like I feel like he's doing good with our defensive backs, and so I think getting him in there, like getting him back, he obviously knows us and he knows like the way we do things. And I think that's going to be especially key when we lose a guy like Ramsey and we have like young guys that are going to have to step up. And so having him back, I think, is going to be huge for that and the development of them. And I can't wait to see what he does and how different our defensive backs look with him other than like what we had in the past. Not to say like our past defensive back coaches were bad, but I think Pleasant's really good and he's an underrated guy.
Interesting with Raheem Morris coming so close to getting a head coaching job the past 2 years. Yeah. Maybe next year really is the year that he does get that opportunity, and maybe this is like the Rams being like, okay, if we can get a defensive coordinator that we could promote from within in Aubrey Pleasant. Yeah. I don't know.
That's smart.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Nifty saying one of McVay's strategy is to maintain cap space. When do we stop getting cap space, and what is he planning on doing with the cap space? That is a fantastic question, Nifty, that only time will tell. And I feel like sometimes as fans we get impatient. Hopefully we're big spenders next year.
Yeah. I think we're supposed to have a lot next year of cap space.
Yeah. He says, Granddad says Rams showcase, but I think he means Rams house here. And did you lose camera here? Oh.
There you go. I don't know what just happened, but
well, that's cool. So I think he says Rams house. Do you follow the college prospects closely? Is there any player, regardless of which round, do you hope the Rams draft? A player that you just love? Yeah, he knows I love Yaya Diaba.
Yeah, I actually don't follow the prospects very closely. Like, I'm not too into college football, so I feel like around draft season, a lot of time I have to like catch up by watching videos on people who actually like watch them and stuff. And so I don't really have any favorites, to be honest, but I have like favorite positions that I want us to draft. Like, I really hope we get an edge rusher this class or this draft, or just like an edge defender in general, because like we're pretty thin there. And so I don't really have anybody who I've fallen in love with, but I usually, the way I do is like after we draft the player, I research them after that. So there's not as much work.
Yeah, no, that's probably a healthy way to do. It's fun to know some names of college prospects going into the draft, and like if the Rams somehow draft, I'm gonna freak out. And again, he's out of Louisville. He's gonna go in probably the the 4th, 5th, or 6th round, somewhere in there. But just he's got the size that you want in an edge rusher, and if we get solely for his name, I want to go like yeah.
We've had some cool nickname players in our history, like even like guys like Jake Funk or players like that. It's fun to have like players that you can make nicknames out of and stuff.
Absolutely. Cooper Reese Cups.
Yeah.
Question for you both from Alex G. Do you think our starters should get more playtime during the preseason? Ooh,
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. Yeah, he's getting started. Do you want to go first on this one?
No, you can go first.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm okay staying with the don't start any starters in the preseason, except for this year. I think we should change it because we're going to have some rookies that will be starting for the sole reason of getting them like game experience outside of the practice field. And I know like they do game simulations and things like that in training camp, which is very important. But there's something about like the prep for a game that you can get in preseason game. So I don't know about like Stafford or Donald or like even Cam Akers. I don't necessarily feel like the need to see them out there. But yeah, I'd like to see definitely some of our young players. Lance McCutcheon.
Big chicken.
Take him that next step. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah, I have a similar thought process as you. So at first, I thought you were saying like starting everybody. I was like, I don't agree with that. But yeah, as far as like our veterans, I think we should just keep on the sideline just for the sake of health. We're gonna need them for like helping to put up some big wins. But as far as like some younger players getting some time, especially younger players that are expected to start, I wouldn't mind seeing them out there, like getting Jacoby Durant and Darion Kendrick more experience in the preseason. I'd be a fan of, even though like we're not super deep at corner right now. I think that's going to be important to like when they're stepping up into a bigger role than they were in the past, like getting that preseason time, like you said, it's bigger than just having like practices that kind of represent games. So I think getting some younger guys some playing time would be smart.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Rudy's saying here, an example of a state of Rams franchise. They're building a state-of-the-art $3.1 billion training facility in Woodland Hills, won the Super Bowl a year back. 49ers borrowing dollars from the NFL for Levi Stadium. Oh, he's talking about how the Rams actually like Kroenke buys his own stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Rudy has such a healthy, look on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. If you got to take a quick break, that's totally cool.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Ramsell's just going to take a brief break here. I'm going to take more of your questions here. He will be right back. Let's see. Expect that's not how it works. McVay has zeros. It's just do yeah, it's definitely more Les Snead's scenario here. But their team. Let's see. Yeah, the hashtag the plan 2024. I'll get to your question in a moment, Rudy. Here. I'd love everyone in the chat if you guys could answer this question here from Nifty. Is the NFC wide open? It feels like there are really good quarterbacks in the AFC. So does that mean we have a shot to go deep in the playoffs? That's the question of the day coming from Nifty Takedown. Let me know in the chat. What do you think the Rams, could do in this NFC? Who are the teams that concern you? You would put the Eagles in there. They have question marks, but you put them in there. The Niners are in there. They do have a talented roster. They have questions of their own at the quarterback position, but that's something in there. The Vikings, I don't know if they're a team that really scare you. They had a good season last year, but they were on the right side of a lot of one-score games. So let me know in the chat because I want to know what you guys are thinking. I like dogs. From what I've seen of it, it looks like it'll be a cool stadium, but I don't have very strong opinion. Rams House is back here, which is awesome. Welcome back. Question for both my guys, Payo and Rams House. Question: do you see Ben Skoranek continue to emerge as a threat and Tutu Atwell taking the next step? Also, looking forward to seeing McCutcheon get reps finally. Ooh, what are your thoughts on our wide receiving core?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how Ben Skoranek was kind of challenging Tutu Atwell as far as playing time goes, because like we all know, and I was one of them. Like a lot of us were hating on Ben Skoranek when he is dropping passes all over the place in his rookie year, but it is cool to see that like young players can get better no matter how they start. And so I think it'll be interesting to see first off how we fill out our roster again in the draft. Like, do we take somebody really high that we want to play at wide receiver? I could see that happening, to be honest. And how that affects all the playing time. I think Ben Skoranek will keep getting better. And I think for Tutu Atwell, it's more about his opportunities because I feel like the verdict is still kind of out on him. Like, he's not getting a ton of playing time, but he's made his big plays. And I think if we see him a little bit more in some different situations, in some different route trees and all that, I think we'll get a better idea on like, oh, is Tutu like a big part of this picture or not? Because I feel like at least last year, Ben Skoranek was more a part of the offense than Tutu Atwell, and he was like a little bit more consistent. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that because like obviously Cooper Kupp has his important role in the offense.
Oh yeah,
Van Jefferson, I think he's established enough that he has his role in the offense, but Skoranek and Tutu being second-year players last year, they definitely had more of a role than they did their rookie year. So maybe that's grounds to think, hey, like they're going to have way more of a role this year just for the sole reason of like chemistry and knowledge of the offense. I would love to, honestly, I think I would love to see Tutu Atwell become like a big play guy, but outside of the big play, I'd love to see him, get those, design plays that are specific to him and that, he'd be able to have a season where he does get 700, 800 plus yards the year. And because right now, unfortunately, he is kind of labeled a one-trick pony. And I'd like to see him develop his route running skills. I think he has the potential to do it. And, year 3 is a good year for a wide receiver to develop into that, consistent threat that, when other opposing teams are looking at the Rams and they're like, hey, we got to figure out Kupp. But if there was also Tutu, we got to watch out for him too, right? And and of course we love cheering on the Tutu train, right?
Oh yeah, all aboard the Tutu train.
Chugga chugga Tutu.
So fun.
As for Ben Skoranek, he has had some big catches, and I do think his drops last year were not nearly as bad as his rookie year. And credit him as a 7th round draft pick who came in and often the expectations for a 7th round wide receiver are quite low. And I still get the visual. I feel like my first visual Ben Skoranek that I remember is him returning a kick return, and it was just
oh my gosh, that was so.
But then you look to like back when the Rams beat the Ravens 2 years ago, he had a huge 4th down conversion. That set up the pass to OBJ to win that game, right, and help the Rams win the division. So Ben Skoranek, I'm hoping he can just turn into that consistent, reliable, move the chain wide receiver, and he's got a good good mentor in Cooper Kupp, and Stafford is definitely going to give him opportunities. Is it weird for me to think that Ben Skoranek might have more like passes thrown his way, but Tutu will have bigger plays?
No, I can see that.
Because that's kind of my state on it. And of course, Lance McCutcheon is still the great unknown, the great mystery.
Yeah. I feel like because I think that's a good way of putting it. Like with Tutu having the bigger plays, but Skoranek like getting the ball a little bit more. Because I feel like Skoranek's pretty consistent and he's kind of found a little role, at least for now. And he's he'll do whatever you ask him to do, and he does it pretty well. And he's just pretty much solid, and he's reliable. But I feel like Tutu's the type of guy who could have like a deep touchdown, or he could beat you around the edge on a jet sweep. Whereas Skoranek isn't really like a big play guy, but you can go to him now, and he's like a little bit more consistent with catching it, and so I can see that.
Do you think Tutu becomes our kick returner or punt returner?
It's interesting. I was just talking about this recently, and it's weird to me because I feel like Tutu has the speed and like acceleration that you want, but to me, he doesn't really seem to have like a lot of that agility and like vision, like to make
Mhm.
people miss. I guess like with jukes and stuff, like Cooper Cup, he's not very fast, but he has a good eye of like how to make people miss and how to use their angles against them and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Tutu, I don't know, punt returning and kick returning, he's more of like a straight line guy as far as his running goes, and he's kind of a little bit more injury prone because there's going to be guys coming right at him, not the biggest. So right now it makes sense, but I don't think he's like the ideal option.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. Good to see you, Johnny G and LA Rams. What's happening? Good to see you. Let's see. Rudy's saying, in my opinion, the Rams still have the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFC, and the NFC is wide open. Each team, each good team has weaknesses and depth. Yep. No, that's fair. That's fair. LA Rams is saying the Eagles for the team. I love this question coming up from Grandizer. He's saying, how confident are you in this statement? We're hungry. Rams linebacker Ernest Jones looking to fill Bobby Wagner's void. Can Jones be a legit top inside linebacker, or Rams have to draft one high? Well, I know you love Ernest Jones, and I know I love Ernest Jones, and I know that love for Ernest Jones only grew with his press conference this past month.
That was exciting.
So I said this on yesterday's show, but you're my first Ram fans that I've talked to here. Did you see that fire in him? Like, did you see that maturity, that change in him in that press conference?
Yeah, he had a fire in his eyes. It looked like he was ready to attack the season, and I love that. Like, he's still pretty young, but I think he's one of the guys that the Rams look at as like a leader, kind of like a captain. And he did that in college too. And so I'm really excited to see what he can do, especially after having a year with Bobby Wagner, what he can do. He just looked excited and invigorated. And so I'm very excited for him.
Absolutely. And for all the defensive departures, we kind of need some players to step up, and he would definitely be my first choice to step up and help lead this defense, outside of Aaron Donald.
I will say too, because he was asking if we'll draft a linebacker high. Although there's not really a lot of recognizable names underneath Ernest Jones, I don't think that we'll draft a linebacker very high, to be honest. I think they have a lot of faith in Ernest Jones, but like we've seen in the past, they don't value linebacker that much to draft really high. And I think we should go in another spot. So
yeah, I'd agree with that. I could see us taking a linebacker, but I think it would be later in the draft. And I do think that, and again, this is, maybe not the most popular opinion, but I do think one of the reasons the Rams were comfortable moving off of all of their defensive talent the way that they did is that they like this draft class. They like that they have 11 picks, even though 8 of those are in the final 3 rounds of the draft. And I think that there's a lot of players in this draft that the Rams would be, happy if they got, right? So that's part of it. See, I like dogs. Have a good game at basketball. The legend of Ben Skowronek was born in the Raiders game, coming down.
That was crazy.
Pass over the Raiders defender on that game-winning drive. That was a big. That was again. I hope that Ben Skowronek is shaking that title of draft, right? And we all know. We all remember Benny Sko, aka Benny Sko drops it, but we like to rename him the Sko Plow now.
Oh yeah,
Sko Plow.
It's funny how he was playing fullback.
Yeah, right. And again, I'd like to see more of that out of him. He's got the build for it.
Yeah, he was doing it well.
Yeah. Do you guys think the Giants will be back in the playoffs next year?
I think so.
I think if there's one team in the NFC I could see missing it next year that made it this year, I could see the Giants being on that list, yeah. But we'll see. Rudy's saying, key to the Rams season on offense, besides health of Stafford and O-line, is Akers continuing his success from last year and Van Jefferson in a contract year being a real number 2 consistent threat. What are your thoughts on Cam Akers and Van Jefferson?
I'm excited for them, and I'm excited to see what Cam Akers can do because he ended the season really well. And I think the line, the offensive line, was ending a little bit better because they finally had a little bit of continuity. And so I'm excited for him because it's his contract year, and I think any player is gonna like try everything they can to prove themselves in that. And so Cam Akers is gonna be fun. Van Jefferson is gonna be fun. I think he really could get over 1,000 yards this season, hopefully. And so I'm excited for both of them. What about you?
Well, Stafford was talking about Cam Akers this week that he from the sideline he saw what Cam Akers can do, and that got me to thinking that Stafford really hasn't played that many games with Cam Akers.
No, he really hasn't.
Because like when he came here, Akers missed pretty much the entire season. They did play together in the playoffs. And sure, they've had off seasons together, but like when Stafford got injured this year, like I guess like probably just over 10 games they've actually played together in 2 years, right?
That's crazy.
Right. So hopefully that's, something that, if Cam Akers can take this, step forward, I'd agree with Rudy that would be, a huge benefit to this Rams offense, and having a healthy Stafford, healthy Kupp, healthy Jefferson, and a healthy Cam Akers, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Yeah. Hey, Kyle, welcome to the party. Good to see you, man. Yeah. We talked about Ben Skronik, but he just to kind of touch on that, will he develop and stay with the Rams, or do you think he'll be traded? I don't know.
I don't think he'll be traded. I think he'll be somebody who probably plays out his contract, and if he's cheap enough, we may bring back, or we may just let him walk.
Yeah. I think because again, he's a 7th round draft pick. He's someone that I could see the Rams continuing to develop and earning a second contract with the Rams. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me, if he were to kind of play out his contract and then get a deal with another team, similar to what the Rams did with Josh Reynolds, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Hey, No Border Sports, Ryan, good to see you. Thanks for that reminder to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Last season was important for Ernest Jones. You got a full year from Bob to learn from Wags. Yeah, absolutely. Johnny Ripple, he has a funny comment here. He's saying, I can Sneed negotiating at a car dealership. Sneed, how much is this car? 29,000. Sneed, I can give you 34,000 for it. What do you think of this Sneed's deals or like, it's funny when the Rams are doing well, Sneed gets so much credit, but when the Rams aren't doing well and they're having these, awkward trades and things like that, he gets criticized, which I think that comes with the job of being an NFL GM anyway. Yeah. But like what are your thoughts on we talked a little bit about this, but Sneed's deals that he does.
It's disappointing because I know we can get so much more, and like we can probably use leverage a lot better than we normally do. I will say, like, if I were a player playing for the Rams and I was going to be moved, especially like via trade, I would be happy that I'm on the Rams because it feels like we do right by our players a lot. Like we send them where they want to go most of the times, and so from the player's perspective, I think I'd love to be under him. But like from a fan's perspective, it's frustrating. Like we were talking about earlier, expecting like a 7th or a 6th round pick for players that are good, and not getting great compensation is very frustrating because we give up a lot to get them. And so that's something that I always hope we get better at, but it kind of feels like history will just repeat itself. Yeah,
it seems like it's one of those things that like Les Snead would be a terrible stockbroker. You know how you're supposed to buy low, sell high. It's like buy high and sell low, right?
Sell low.
It is frustrating. Question: do you guys read this false ex-Rams quarterback Jalen Ramsey denies asking for a new deal? Do you believe that or no? Your take? Yeah, I think it was you that sent that tweet to me and it got deleted. Yeah, what are your thoughts that like that Jalen Ramsey would have redone a deal or he never asked for one? He didn't ask for a trade. Like this was just the Rams making that decision. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. because I can tell how much Ramsey loves the Rams, like based off of that. But also, like he's said it a lot of times in the past, how much he likes the team and he'd want to, retire here and all that. And like you just have to be honest, even if you're not a fan of the Rams, he's a fun player to watch. Like there's not really corners that tackle like he does, who have that type of attitude. So I was really disappointed to see him go, and I feel like he kind of was too. As far as what he said there, it's kind of sad, but I feel like with a situation like the path we chose to either restructure and try one more year and have a longer rebuild, or just get all the money off right now and then have some more cap space next year, I feel like even no matter how much he wanted to stay here, I just don't think he was part of the picture, which is unfortunate. I'd really want him to stay, but yeah.
And it's frustrating. I think this is one of the hard parts about being a fan, because you have these players that you go to cheer for, and like I remember when we traded to get Jalen Ramsey in the middle of the season, and like there was the weird fallout from Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib.
Yeah,
and you just sort of wonder, like, is this just sort of a thing with the Rams that they have these trades to these teams, and you hope that it works out. I'm working on a video about all of Les Snead's trades and kind of doing a deep dive into them, and it's interesting because there is something to, like, it seems like once the Rams have decided, okay, it's time to move on from a player, they don't really explore any other opportunities. Like they're like, hey, we're moving on from him. Let's see what we can get, if anything. Yeah. And that's just sort of the way. And then you end up with these deals like a 3rd round pick and potentially great tight end Hunter Long.
Oh, yeah. Future Hall of Famer.
Go Hunter Long.
I really hope he does well.
Oh, man. I would love it if you know what? I will be the biggest Hunter Long fan ever if he gets like more than 100 yards all season next year.
If he gets more than 8 yards in one season, I'll be like, let's go.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. Appreciate everyone with your comments. We only have a few more minutes here, but I'll get to as many as we can. Let's see. A lot of people disappointed in trade values. Let's see. Thank you, Brian B. Good to see you for tuning on in. He asked the question, what position do you think the Rams pick first? I've already said I think that pick is getting traded in the 2nd round, but I do think they draft an edge rusher first. That's my own personal opinion. What about you?
I hope we draft an edge rusher first, or like, I just hope we don't draft a receiver first. Like, I don't know. They could be really good, but I just hope we don't do that, or like a running back or something like that. I'd probably say edge too.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard when you don't see how the draft falls. Like there could be like a really good corner there. Who knows? But
yeah, and I feel like if you're drafting for needs, it would be edge or corner. Like that's kind of the no brainer if you're drafting for needs, but if there's a player you really like, you got to take that player, right?
Yeah.
Alex, can we trade the G?
Oh, no.
No. Yeah, Rooney brings up some good points here. He's saying, looking forward to seeing these young players excel. Michael Hoyt, Canadian.
Yeah.
Jonah Williams, Bobby Brown, Jacoby Durant, and finally a look at a healthy Quentin Lake. Who of these players would you say you're most excited to see? For me, it's a no-brainer, Michael Hoyt, because Canadian.
Oh, yeah. Michael Hoyt is one of my players, too, because he's like a guy nobody even saw coming. Like, nobody could have predicted what happened with him and how well he could do there. Mm-hmm. And so he's one of them for sure. I think just anybody in the cornerback room I'm excited for. Like, he didn't list him on there, but I'm excited for Robert Rochelle because I feel like when he got drafted, there were a lot of expectations for him where they're like, he tested the same as Jalen Ramsey did. He has like the same stature and like same build as Jalen Ramsey. And then there's like all this hype, and then he just fell off, and he wasn't even like playing special teams. Like, he just completely disappeared, even in a year when we needed some depth there. And so I'm excited to see what Robert Rochelle can do, because I don't think that you can declare him as a bust yet. Like, he just hasn't had a lot of playing time.
Totally. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, lots of people voicing their opinions in the chat about Les Snead. Definitely, when you make trades like that, it's going to be controversial. But JP does have a take here. He's saying, I'd rather have a guy who takes chances because it shows me he wants to make the team better. This is why Les Snead is one of the best GMs in the league. Hit or miss. Dude won us a Super Bowl by making moves, and y'all trying to hate on Snead. Ram fans are dumb sometimes. Hey, we all are.
Yeah.
All right. And again, like I am a fan of Les Snead. I like so much so that when Jeff Fisher got fired, I didn't want Les Snead to get fired, and I thought he was going to, but thankfully he didn't. And I'm so glad because I do believe in him as a GM. When he makes moves like this, it's frustrating, and it's okay to be frustrated. But know that he's still got a chance to prove that he's one of the best GMs in football doing it, right? But and Rudy says, I appreciate what Les Snead has done for us and continue to do, but he needs to bring in a negotiator when it comes to trading players.
Yeah, I think we could do a little bit better with the negotiations there, but
yeah. No, and Johnny points out, he said, made plenty of mistakes. No one is above getting questioned. But yeah, and I think it's one of those things that only time will tell. And that's the fun part about being a football fan, right? Is
you don't
make all these moves and
Yeah. Let's call it he's a good GM. I'll say that.
Yeah. Hey, well, when you think of it, he's been the Rams GM since 2012, so over 10 years now.
That's a long time.
Very few GMs get that opportunity, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them, right? I
feel like him even being there for that long, that's got to be like one of the longer times for a GM to be there, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. The Rams history, absolutely.
Yeah.
Couple more comments here, guys, and we're going to close up shop. But Scott Richmond is saying Hunter Long was the third round draft pick. He was good at Boston College. You should watch his day. Oh, I have, absolutely. And
oh yeah,
we joke about him only having 1 catch with the Dolphins for 8 yards. But as soon as he became a Rams player, like we were looking up his Boston College tape, and we are huge Hunter Long's fans. We joke, but like we, deep down inside, we want him to be the best tight end ever.
I feel bad for him because I feel like even if he's like a pretty solid tight end for us or contributes a lot, I feel like a lot of people just won't like him because he's not playing the same position as Ramsey, but it's almost like he's the replacement for him. Like, I don't know. I feel like people are going to be comparing him to like what Ramsey was, which is kind of unfair for players. It's like a completely different story for them. So
totally. And you wonder, like, in the tight end room with Tyler Higbee and Bryson Hopkins, what is Hunter Long's opportunity and what's his role going to be? So I hope so. I hope it's a good one. Silly fun guy. He's saying, here comes Big Van Jefferson season, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Love that. Love. Well, everyone, that is going to do it for us. Rams House, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. You're always welcome here. Please let the audience know where can they find you.
Yeah, it's really easy. Just look up Rams House on YouTube. And of course, you can subscribe to Rams House TV, who was in the chat earlier. But my channel is just called Rams House and make videos all around the Rams. So if that interests you, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody. Oh, sorry. One last question from Grandizer. Who's Casa?
Rams Casa.
Love it. Have a good night, everyone. Go Leafs.